see a notice coming up that is being live streamed. And now that's done. Welcome everybody, and we can begin our hearing.
A notice coming up that is being live
Oh,
streamed.
wait a minute. And now I have an echo.
And now that's done.
Hang on. How do I?
Welcome everybody, and we can begin.
Okay. Apparently there's a 4-second delay in our live stream and our actual meeting. But let's go with it. So now we can begin our joint committee hearing on public service, joint committee on public service hearing, and I'm Representative Kenneth Gordon. I'm joined by my co-chair and colleague, Senator Michael Brady. Welcome, Senator. Do you have any opening remarks?
Good morning, co-chair, and I welcome everyone on the meeting today.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody's time and attention. The committee has solicited testimony in each of the bills on the agenda today. We've solicited written and oral testimony, and I know we've received a number of pieces of written testimony, and all of the written testimony will be considered to have the same weight as any oral testimony. If the members of the public, if any members of the public would like to submit written testimony who are not here today, you may do so. So we'll keep the opportunity open for a week, which would be till Tuesday, January 11th at 5 p.m. As we have been doing since the beginning of this session, we are using the Zoom online platform to conduct the hearing. And if members of the committee would like to have a question after hearing testimony, just use the raise hand. I'm also really going to be calling out and asking any members of the committee if you have any questions. Please don't use the chat function because it can't be recorded, and we are a public hearing, and so we want to really preserve the public nature of this hearing. If everyone who is not speaking could use the mute feature, I'd really appreciate that. Sometimes it can interrupt the speakers, and sometimes it can just cause feedback. I'd like to introduce members of the House of Representatives from the committee who are here. I see we have Vice Chair Natalie Higgins. We have Representative Bruce Ayers. Let me see. It's easier when we are in person. I can look down the line and see who else is here. Oh, Representative Whalen is here, our ranking member. Representative Kushmerek is here, as you usually are, and Representative Eiderhoven is here. Thank you. With that having been done, let's turn to our list of witnesses today. Our first, do we have Representative Murray here? Are you here? Yeah, yes. So Representative Murray, you're speaking on H4275.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Happy New Year. It's good to see everyone, albeit virtually. I'll be brief on this particular bill. It's a bill of local concern. It relates to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 32B, Section 3, which essentially requires a governing body of a town or a city. In my case, would be the Select Board of the Town of Milford, prior to purchasing health insurance for its employees. The public authority is required to meet with an advisory committee for the purpose of securing a written recommendation of the majority of that committee for the health insurance to be purchased. The statute lays out the membership of that committee as being 8 members, 7 who would be either elected or appointed and represent the governmental units involved in the health insurance. And then the final member would be a retiree appointed to the committee. This bill seeks to add for the town of Milford 1 additional member to the town's insurance advisory committee, which would represent what we call Article 2 personnel or non-union personnel. And in Milford, and I imagine in many towns, the non-union group is considerably larger than a number of unions, yet there's no representation on this insurance advisory committee. So quite simply, this bill would just authorize the town of Milford to add another member to its insurance advisory committee, which would represent non-union personnel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is this a home rule petition?
Yes, yes,
Is the clerk certificate file with us?
yes.
Okay, thank you very
Yep.
much.
Yep.
With that, I have no further questions. Senator Brady?
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I don't have any questions. Thank you, Representative, for your testimony.
Thank you. Questions from any member of the committee? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Mira. Lenny, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for taking me out of order. Yeah, I'm here to actually testify on two bills. It's H 2734 and 2735. They both have the same kind of purpose. 2734 would provide free tuition for someone seeking a major in criminal justice. 2735 would allow the Commonwealth to pick up the student loan payments for anyone serving in a law enforcement field in Massachusetts. And the purposes of these bills are pretty clear, Mr. Chairman. We are facing a shortage of law enforcement officers in the state, something that a lot of my police chiefs are saying could evolve into a public safety crisis in the near future if we don't do something about this. A lot of people are leaving that field. Very few young people are going into it. And so we need to really do something about that really quickly. And so 2734 would provide free tuition for someone going into that field, but 2735 perhaps would be the more effective and more timely way to go, as it would solve a number of problems. We have a lot of young people with outstanding student debt, and this would allow the Commonwealth to perhaps pick up some or all of those payments if they serve as working in a law enforcement agency in the Commonwealth, whether that be the state police or one of our municipal police departments. And this would go a long way, Mr. Chairman. What we have found is that law enforcement officers that get a college degree and a college education are quite often more effective officers, as they have better reading and writing skills, they have fewer disciplinary problems, and they are far less likely to use deadly force while carrying out their duties. So when you add all that together, this could actually save the Commonwealth a little bit of money in the long run. But like I said, the real immediate goal is to provide some way to provide an incentive for young people to go into this field. And it's something I hope the committee takes up. I kept the legislation very short, not heavy on details, but perhaps that's something we could hammer out. Members of this committee and people testifying today have similar bills, but it's something I think the Commonwealth needs to consider going forward. And, you know, I'm sure everyone here would like to know that Massachusetts has the best trained, best educated police force in America. That's something we should aspire to. And it would address a very much needed problem right now. So I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have, but I just hope it's something that the committee will take up.
Thank you very much, Representative. If just as a thought, if you take a look at some of the recorded hearings that came before our commission, the Chair Brady and I chair a civil service commission, and one of and Chair Representative Whalen is serving on it, Representative Higgins is serving on it. And one of the issues before us is, in fact, working in conjunction with civil service to find ways that turn to, for example, the community colleges to help attract applicants to civil service jobs, which would include our first responders. Also outreach into communities that sometimes are not getting the attention that they should get within the Commonwealth, to try to, at that point, perhaps create the opportunity for more diversity among our police and fire. All of these are under consideration, including opportunities like we had with the Quinn bill for further education for our first responders or police officers. So I think your idea is a good one, and we can work together to try to get to that goal.
That would be great.
Senator Brady?
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, and thank you, Representative, for your testimony. As my co-chair mentioned, reaching out to recruit new people in law enforcement. Brockton has hired a much more diverse clientele employment in the police department, but we've got to do a better job reaching out. Like my co-chair said, we talked about community colleges and other outlets to reach out. I did bring this up in the subcommittee that we talked about. Do we have any numbers, and do you have numbers, Representative, that talked about there is a lack of people going into law enforcement? Is there any statistics that we can get on that?
We did look into this. I believe I worked on this with Rep. Tucker, who was also on this call. And yeah, we are seeing that. But getting back to something you brought up earlier, Senator, you know, our community colleges do a great job of training people for jobs that have a lot of openings right now. And it would be great if those community colleges, which have a high number of you know, minority members, could steer some people in this direction because of what you said. I mean, it would be great if our big city police forces, you know, the members of that police force look like the community they're policing. It just makes sense. And I think it would go a long way to help in some social aspects. But yeah, we do have those statistics, and people are just leaving the forces in very high numbers for a variety of reasons. A lot of it, you know, is they're aging out. We have an age limit on people who can be police officers. But young people are just not going into the field like they used to. My office started to look into that to try to get to the root of the problem. You know, there are perhaps some social aspects that we could take up. I really wish more minority guys would go into the field, and we should look into why that's not happening. But the numbers are there. I think it's just something we need to delve into.
And I think that, you know, based on the demographics of a city like Brockton, which is very diverse, we've been able to recruit people from the new different ethnicities that have moved into the city, but I don't know how true it holds in other communities, you know? And it, you know, it's based on what your population is and so forth, and
That's right.
the demographics, you know, but you do want to see a reflection of who lives in your community, that who's on the force. And there's been talk about, you know, the list and the length of time people are on the list, and in other avenues too to look into, which we're in that subcommittee looking into all aspects to make things work better. So thank you.
Yeah, that would be great to see. It really would be. And anything we do to encourage that, you know, would be helpful.
And any further ideas you have, Rep, please don't hesitate to contact our offices. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Co-Chair.
Thank you. Rep. Whalen, your name came up, and I can see that you're looking to join into the conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was trying to figure out how to do the raise hand feature on here, but my
You don't even have,
technology skills being one step out of the cave once again hindered my ability to do so. So I hit the clap function instead. So, Mr. Chairman, both you and Chairman Brady covered a lot of the points that I was going to bring up, but I just wanted to thank Representative Mira for filing this bill. And in answer to Chairman Brady's question, last year, Representative Tucker might be able to nail down the numbers more specifically for me, but this past year in 2021, the civil service exam was presented for cities and towns, and it was about, typically there's somewhere around 35,000 people that take the test, and I believe the number of people that registered to take the test this time around was somewhere in the area of 6,000, if not less. And again, those numbers are readily available from the Department of Civil Service to speak to what Representative Mira was saying and what we've been discussing in our separate commission, Mr. Chairman. So I kind of view this as an opportunity, particularly as you were bringing up, Mr. Chairman, the using the community colleges, because through the community colleges, we're going to get access to a more diverse populace, a more diverse student body, and hopefully a more diverse workforce of people that we can try and make this law enforcement career more attractive for them. And we've taken testimony. I've been on this committee now for all 4 terms, and that have been in the legislature, and we have a number of career fields that come before us that are seeking tuition remission. And but the one thing that I haven't seen the career fields come with before, unlike Representative Mira this time around, is just a complete bottoming out of people who are interested in a career in law enforcement. As the numbers themselves will prove once we get them from civil service. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak to this, Mr. Chairman, and I'll defer the rest of my time.
thank you. All right. Any other questions from anybody else on the committee? I appreciate your effort, appreciate the bill, and appreciate your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Tucker, you're on our list to speak about H4265, and we have a panel that includes members of PFFM on that bill too. So what I'll do is I'm going to call on you next, Representative Tucker, and then either you can introduce the panel if you're testifying together, or I'll do it either way, but it's the same topic.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate the conversation that preceded my testimony now from Rep. Mayer and Rep. Whalen. The community colleges do have such an incredibly important part to play here as well. I've actually put forward a bill to not only do what Rep. Mayer is looking to do, but also actually include the lion's share of the credits at the community college to go towards an academy to really try to streamline the process. And we can have a further conversation about that. I am here on 4265. This would allow the appointment of retired firefighters to serve as special firefighters. I know that I've spoken with Chief Dion in Salem, and he would like this bill to be put under consideration and have a discussion as he sees necessary for the appointment of retired firefighters to work special details. This is not unlike what this committee and our legislature has done when it comes to bringing back retired police officers. We know the incredible amount of experience that these men and women have. And when they walk out the door, that it really is a void. I think we need to see this on the fire side as well. This is for detail work. I think that to bring the experience and to keep that on board is of utmost importance as of now. It's a well-written bill. All the requirements are in place in terms of training, the requirements, the guardrails on the hours worked. And we know that with the research that it complies with all the existing laws as well. And we have great appreciation, as we should, for the work that our police officers and firefighters are doing, particularly during this pandemic, but even before and after as well. So I appreciate consideration on 4265. And it's always a pleasure to work with our brothers and sisters in the fire service from PFFM. And I look forward to their conversation as well.
Thank you very much. Senator, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just a comment, Mr. Co-Chair, and I read that this bill does in accordance with the collective bargaining. Is that correct, Representative Tucker?
Yes, it does. And there was a lot of effort that was put into making sure that it complies with all of that. And that is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Okay, thank you. Before I just announce that we'll turn to the folks from the PFFM and Boston Firefighters. I know that Rep. Barrows is here waiting to testify with another group, but we have a very short agenda, very brief agenda. So we'll get right to you, but just to keep the topics together, therefore, since there aren't that many witnesses, I'm going to call on Paul Jakes, Craig Hardy, Mark Sanders, and Randy Greeley, and then we'll get to the panel that has Representative Barrows.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. In the interest of time, are we also testifying on our other bills now?
You are. I'm sorry. That was
don't
the
worry.
common one, but you are. We've got you down for 1, 2, 3, 4 other bills.
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, Chair Gordon, Chair Brady, members of the committee and staff. For the record, my name is Paul Jakes, legislative agent for the Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts. I'm joined today by Craig Hardy, legislative agent for the PFFM, Mark Sanders, and Randy Greeley from Boston Firefighters Local 718, and also Kevin O'Hara, the president of Revere Firefighters Local 926. We have submitted written testimony, but in the interest of time, we'd just like to go on the record in support of House Bill 4265, 4266, 4278, and Senate Bill 1368. Like I said, we have submitted written testimony, which will detail more of the reasons we support these bills. But we would like to put some special attention and turn it over to Kevin O'Hara with some more details on House Bill 4278. You're muted.
All right, here we go. Sorry. All right, thank you, Legislator Paul Jakes, Co-Chairman Gordon, and Co-Chair Brady. Thank you for having me today speak on this House Bill 4278. This is regarding reserve time in the city of Revere, Massachusetts, which was supported by the Revere City Council and also supported by the Revere Retirement Board. So I'm gonna break down real short and sweet of what took place. On February of 2020, a ruling took place regarding reserve time, credible service served. And what happened is PERAC misinterpreted that ruling and turned around and stripped 65 firefighters of time they earned going back to 2009. Basically, what we're asking is to reinstate the time for a home rule act that we started, to reinstate the firefighters, the credible service that they were wrongly taken away, going back to 2009 and all the way up till February of 2020, February 11th of 2020.
Okay. Further testimony before
Yes, at this time, we have provided written testimony and would like to echo the words that Representative Tucker said on the House Bill 4265. We don't feel that, he said that very well. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Boston Firefighters Local 718.
Can I ask you a quick question just on the topic
sorry.
of the Revere bill? And I appreciate that you have the opportunity to do that. But is that a home rule petition? Do we have a clerk certificate?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Representative Gordon, Representative Gordon, that has the full support of the Revere Retirement Board and the City Council over there. So I'm glad that's a good question you asked about that home rule. Thank you.
I thought that, but I just wanted to be sure that we could tick off that box. Okay, you guys can proceed.
Okay. Now, Mark?
Good, thank you for your time, Chairman Brady and Chairman Gordon. I'm Randy Gwillian. I represent 2,000 Boston firefighters, active and retired, along with my partner, Mark Sanders. We're here in support of Senate Bill 1638, an act relative to active disability, retirement of police and firefighters, and we want on the record that we support this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair, Randy is our newly elected Boston Firefighters Local 718 legislative agent. So you will be seeing him around, I would say the halls, but you'll be seeing him around Zoom in these coming days.
Thank you. Welcome to welcome to this hearing, and looking forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Does that conclude your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I have no questions. And Senator Brady, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to welcome Randy as well, and congratulations. I don't have any questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any questions from anybody on the committee? Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony. I appreciate it. We're going to move on to the panel that includes Representative Jay Barrows. It also includes William Keegan, the town manager for the town of Foxborough, Chief Michael Grace.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Gordon and Chairman Brady, and a happy new year to everybody. Great to see everybody on Zoom. Someday we'll be back in person, I'm sure. We're here, both Town Manager Keegan and Chief Grace, to talk about 4294. Foxborough recently passed at town meeting overwhelmingly the chance to exempt itself from the civil service laws. So I guess we'll start with Bill Keegan, if he doesn't mind taking over, and then we'll kick it to Chief Grace.
Good morning, and thank you, Representative Barrows, and good morning, Chairman Gordon, Chairman Brady, members of the committee. We are pleased to submit this home rule petition for consideration for the state legislature, which was adopted by the town of Foxborough unanimously at town meeting, and supported by the Board of Selectmen and supported by the local union, to withdraw from civil service for the police department. Our fire department has been civil service for forever, I believe. And the Foxborough Police Department removed its police chief about 5 or 6 years ago from civil service, and this would effectively make Foxborough all non-service civil service at this point in time. I took with great interest the comments made earlier about creating diversity in public service and public safety, particularly, and that we do believe that civil services provides an impediment to that based upon the way the system currently works. We think that we can help diversify our department more by being out of civil service and providing an opportunity to provide a greater opportunity to mix and to make our department more consistent with what the actual makeup of the community is. So we appreciate the opportunity to testify this morning in favor of this bill. Hope that it'll get through favorably, and that we can move forward with the wishes of the community of the town of Foxborough. Thank you.
Do we have any other testimony on that bill?
Chief Michael Grace, I believe, is available as well, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, good morning, Chairman Gordon, Brady, and Representative Barrows. I'm sitting here as we go through all the other bills, and what we're talking about in law enforcement is exactly the crisis that it's in, and one of the solutions that municipalities and towns have been doing for several years to try to survive this shortage is to leave civil service. Civil service completely limits a municipality's ability to hire, increase the hiring candidates' qualifications, and interferes with the department's ability to have their staff represent their population. Foxborough's been in civil service since 1931. I've been with the department 24 years. I've been on every end of the roles within the agency, including being a union president for many years. This particular last round of hiring, I am a product of, when we talk about the community colleges, I'm a product of Westfield State College. I went, when I took the civil service exam, there were 37,000 applicants. You prayed that, you just hope, and you had that special moment that day to maybe get on that list. This last year, my list was gone. I exhausted every Foxborough resident who had taken the list. With the ability to leave civil service, and I do want to say that when this process unfolded, the offices themselves support it 100%. Town meetings supported it without one opposing view, and they understand the restrictions. We were down over 10 offices, and because of the restrictions within civil service, I can't take a lateral police officer from a non-civil service town because I'm civil service. And at this point, with the crisis in Massachusetts, any town that is civil service will not release their offices to transfer. So what every department has been working, not every, but many, especially around where I am, they have all been forced to leave civil service. I am probably, like myself and Rentham, are on an island. Every community around me has left civil service. This now allows us to offer our own exams. We set our own timelines. We can increase the qualifications. We can design the requirements to outline the needs of the community. I've already drafted all the policies for hiring and promotion as well, raising the level minimum requirement of, obviously, our military veterans are huge, but I'm also making it a minimum of an associate's degree. When we leave civil service, I will be able to reach out to every person who's interested in criminal justice, not just who happened to have a Foxborough resident at the date of the exam. So anyone who's in any college in criminal justice can apply to our own exam. And I'm not stuck with a list. A list is, I have one opening, I get to look at 3 people, and that is it. I can build a list, and also when I build that group, I can say, what does the agency need at this time? So it just opens up all the possibilities. I have so many people who grew up in Foxborough, have family in Foxborough, but just don't reside anymore in Foxborough. They could live one town over, and they want to maybe work for the community that they know so well. They'll never get a chance under the civil service model. So I could go on and on. I think the challenges in law enforcement are so great right now, attracting people. So by leaving civil service, I open the opportunity to reach out to a wide variety of candidates who are interested in the field, who just want to have a shot at getting the job. And we'll have a process that ultimately gives the town of Foxborough the best chance to get the best candidates.
Thank you very much. Does that exhaust the list of witnesses you have on it, Bill?
Yeah, that's what we have. And I guess just to reiterate, we are one of the few communities that is still civil service. Mansfield, Sharon, Walpole, North Attleboro, in no order not. And Sharon was just done as recently as 2016. So it's important for us to move this along as quickly as possible with your approval, obviously. So we do appreciate it. And thanks to both Chief Grace and Town Manager Keegan for their testimony.
Thank you very much, Representative. Manager Keegan, I have a question for you, because as you mentioned that the fire, well, two things you mentioned, that the fire department is not a civil service department, the police department is, and that both of you said that diversity is a goal that you have in mind if you were to leave civil service. Can you tell me, with the police department, how many African Americans do you have employed there?
Chief?
So we're three African American officers currently. One of them serving as my civil rights officer as well.
How many police officers? How many employees in the police department do you have overall?
So we, including myself, I have 39.
Okay. How many Latino?
Two.
American?
Two.
How many women?
3.
Okay. How many other people who identify as being in a what I'd call a protected group? People call minority group.
As including military veterans or excluding those?
No.
That would, I would say, let's see, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 7. 7 that would fall under one of those categories collectively, total.
Okay. And the women, are women included among the 7?
Yes, women are included in that group.
Okay, so 7 of 39 would identify as a group that, from an employment point of view, would be one of the classes. How about the fire department? Manager Keegan, how many employees in the fire department?
We have a similar number of firefighters as with police officers. I think there's actually just a few. There's two less than the police department.
37.
That's right.
I'm paying attention. I'm just taking a few notes.
Sure, that's fine.
The numbers. So of those 37, how many African American?
There are none currently.
Okay. How many Latin American?
I believe there is 1.
How many women?
There is 1.
Anybody else who would identify as being, a protected class or one might say minority group?
No, I don't believe there's anything more than that.
So,
yeah.
So my question is then, what you said was that it will help you to diversify if the police were not in civil service, but what you are telling us is that the department that's not in civil service has only 2 people out of the 37 who would be a member of a minority group or protected class, while the department that is in civil service has 7 of 39. It seems that it's more diverse than the one that's not in civil service. Can you explain how that leads you to believe that being outside of civil service will help you to become more diverse?
Yeah, so in terms of the fire service, we've had a much more difficult time trying to diversify because getting candidates to even apply under the current conditions. Our process is a very good process in which we actually regard and recruit, have a good testing process. But we've had a difficult time to get people to even apply to the diversified nature of candidates to even apply for positions. I can't explain why that is, but we've tried. It's not the one up. It's not because of an effort not to try. We just haven't been able to get the diversity. As far as the police department goes, we have over the years we've collected a number of good candidates, mostly through transfers though from other departments, not because we've had candidates off the list. So I think that really is explanation. The chief has tried to do that by transfers more than actually getting them off the civil service list.
So I understand. I'm sorry.
No,
So
that's
I
it.
just want to, as Mr. Keegan said, is there was a time when there wasn't a crisis in law enforcement where you could reach out to try to get a lateral transfer, and you had people who wanted to come work for your agency, and there was flexibility within municipalities, so you could recruit an officer who maybe not have taken your test, but of a minority status. I can tell you those options are gone from me now. I mean, in policing, police chiefs are scrutinized exactly with the question that you're asking. We are forced at every single turn to make sure that we want the officers to reflect the people that we serve. While we're remaining in civil service, I can't take a transfer anymore. And if my list is 7 white males, that's it. I'm done. I have no other options. Leaving civil service allows me to continue to grow and diversify the agency, because the civil service option is gone now, because the other agencies, 1, have all left, or 2, will not allow them to, and I can't accept non-civil service police officers. And the whole training of the MPTC and trying to get an academy, that's just another issue, which is non-existent. Trying to hire a police officer when you're short, where it takes about almost a year and a half to 2 years, if you're lucky, to get a police officer off a list right now. So I want to diversify the agency even more. I need more women. As I always say, I make a joke as some of my best police officers are moms, because they can multitask better than anybody else. And I have several of them, and they're fantastic. And I need them out. They're 50% of the residents in Foxborough are women dealing with, and I want to hire more. I can tell you right now, the civil service list, when I go down it, I can't, if I have one opening, I can't get to one.
Oh, I appreciate that. And the reason that I'm asking is because I'll go back to the Civil Service Study Commission that I co-chair with Senator Brady. And the issue that we see is recruiting people, whether it's for employment or whether it's take the civil service exam. The ideas that you just heard earlier in this hearing about incentivizing people by providing opportunities for a community college education, degrees, and things like that would be designed, if we were able to, when we write our report, if that ends up in the report. These are all things that are designed to help our first responders all together. Because what we're looking to do is to see, well, we recognize the problem is that there's a difficulty. We don't have the access to labor, essentially, among first responders. It also happens that.
But the residency requirement restrictions by civil service eliminate all of those options for me right now. You're 100% correct by saying, let's hit these community colleges. Let's hit these young people who want to do this job. But if they do not have a Foxborough address at the time of the exam, I cannot hire them.
So is it your opinion that if the residency requirement was less restrictive, that civil service would be less problematic?
It would be one of many issues with that. It still wouldn't help me with selecting candidates. Civil service, I have one opening. I only can look at the top 3. The majority of all the people are, and my son's in the military, they're all disabled veterans, all get preference. So if you're a college kid and you didn't go in the military and you're really interested in serving in policing, I'll never get to you. I can't get to you because I can't bypass people just because of that one specific need. And each person I bypass, I have to litigate with civil service, and it wouldn't be justified just because of if they're a solid candidate.
Okay. Senator, do you have any questions? Senator Brady?
Yeah, thank you. I was just trying to unmute. I do have a question, Chief, and I appreciate everyone's testimony. I know every community has different residency requirements based on their collective bargaining. What is the residency requirement in the town of Foxborough?
So are you talking in regards to civil service or non-civil service?
Civil service.
Civil
When-
service is, that is the, at the time to take the exam, you have to reside or shown proof of your residency at the time of the exam.
Right, but like some communities negotiated after 7 years, they can live where they choose within the close proximity, being a public safety personnel. What is the requirements in Foxborough beyond the date of hire?
It's 15 miles. We want to make sure that our,
No, I'm sorry, Chief, I'm talking about on a timeline, after they get hired, they are a resident of Foxborough. Is there a timeline that they have to live in the town after that, or through collective bargaining? Each community is different.
no, there isn't, no.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
But I will expand on that, is when you hire people, when you're non-civil service and you hire people and you vet them, one of the biggest factors in hiring someone is making sure that they're a stakeholder in your community.
Right,
Okay, so if someone attended Foxborough High Schools, went off and went to college for criminal justice, and so their connection, whether it be their family, themselves, over the many, many years or decades, those are the people you're picking. Now, ultimately, if they live a town over, because that's where they could afford to live, because Foxborough could be expensive, you still haven't lost all those tangible benefits that you benefit from your hiring process.
right.
So-
Okay, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Thank you. And I did say this earlier, but so that you know, it's because we're also engaged in this study commission that I'm very interested in your experience, and especially because you're in that unique position of having one first responder, the fire department outside of civil service, then one in. And so you sort of have a frame of reference to talk about the experience what the manager Keegan does. That's why I asked. I understand it's a whole no petition.
Mr. Chairman, I've actually been active with the Police Chiefs Association about that very issue on the civil service matter, and I can tell you that a lot of the experiences that we're having in Foxborough are the same ones that they're having across the state. So we're not unique in that respect. Everything the chief's described is actually true across the board, and it's a challenge that a lot of the chiefs are facing, and we can find that, generally speaking, that the civil service system has not really been updated since 1931, and there aren't many things today that we can look to that hasn't been updated since 1931 at this point in life. So I think we're dealing with an outdated law, an outdated system, and one that's actually not even staffed properly at the state level in order to work properly and to get the turnaround that people need for running their departments properly.
I appreciate it, although you're talking to the folks who have been asked to look into updating it. So that's the nature of the questions again.
Fair enough.
So thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you.
For your point of view. Any questions from anybody from the committee? Okay, with that, thank you very much to the panel. Our next witness is Kevin O'Hara.
Mr. Chairman, he spoke with us on the PFFM panel.
Okay, thank you very much. Then Chief David Hayes. Chief Hayes, you're on mute. Okay. There you go.
Wrestling with the mouse button, I'm sorry. I'm Chief David Hayes, Norwood Fire Department. Home Rule Petition Bill H 4287 is simply a waiver of the mandatory retirement age of 65. I'm asking for the committee's support. I was appointed chief on September 1st of 2021. Rather tumultuous time for the fire department. I'm rebuilding relationships, replacing equipment, started many big projects, not the least of which is developing my people to lead later. I don't feel like let me go here. I am going to turn 65 on February 24th, 2023. That leaves me roughly 11 months. I don't have time to get done all the things that we are starting, and I'm asking for the committee's consideration to waive that retirement age. The contract I have with the town and the way the law is written, I stand to gain nothing except rebuilding relationships, taking care of my firefighters, taking care of my citizens. We're working on developing a second ALS ambulance. There's negotiations involved. I'd like to finish all these things before I go. I committed to the town manager to give him, if you concur, at least 5 years. So I may not stay until 70. But there's a lot on the table that I really feel like I'd like to stay and finish. There's been some that have suggested a lesser time. Town meeting actually discussed it. While I'm at it, the town meeting, the Board of Selectmen and the town manager all support this. They've all voted in favor. There's been some discussion about a narrowing of the waiver, perhaps an extra year. I view that as ineffective. If that were to be the case, I'm not making threats. I would probably retire at 65 rather than be a lame duck, an anchor on the town. This is about public service and the people of Norwood. It's not really about me. So I'd ask your consideration supporting this home rule petition. Thank you. Any questions? I'll certainly answer them.
No, thank you. With the support of town meeting, that certainly speaks volumes to us. So thank you very much for your testimony, Senator Brady. Chair
Thank
Brady.
you, Mr. Co-Chair. I have no questions. Thank you.
Any questions from
Thank you,
any
gentlemen.
anybody? And hang on 1 second before you go. Any questions from any members of the committee? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much. And that concludes the list of witnesses who have been signed up to testify. I'll quickly read through the list. It's a short list of bills and close them close them effective Tuesday of next week, which I think is the 11th, right at 5 p.m. Yep. We'll accept written testimony until then. So we've heard on bill number 2734. I'm sorry, H 2734, H 4258, H 4265, H 4266, H 4275, H 4278, H 4280, H 4287, H 4294, S 722, S 1368, S 2601. With that, Happy New Year to everyone, and I will accept the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Actually, I need the motion, Rep. Braylon.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Those opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Again, Happy New Year, everybody.